Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 best and most important Pokemon for raids in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and we're going to start with number 1, the uncontested best Pokemon for raids in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that is none other than Ironhands. Now, before we get into going over why he's so good, let's say you're a Scarlet player. Ironhands is not in the game, so what you can do, you can trade Brute Bonnet for Ironhands using the code you see on the screen in the Poke Portal. Now, what makes Ironhands so good is his combination of Belly Drum and Drain Punch. Belly Drum cuts your HP in half, but maxes your attack out all 6 stages, and then you can immediately use Drain Punch after that, and it'll get you back to full health since the raid bosses have so much health. Ironhands also learns a lot of coverage moves like Earthquake and Play Rough. He also has a massive HP pool, which allows him to take hits from moves he's weak against and survive. You also want your Ironhands to have an adamant nature, so if he doesn't have an adamant nature when you catch him or receive him, go to the Chansey supply store, get him adamant mint, and give it to him. You want to basically give him all HP and attack EVs. I cheated a little bit, I gave him a little bit of speed, but you can use HP ups and proteins and carbos, or you can go do some EV training on certain Pokemon. Now, there are 2 items you really want on your Ironhands. Booster Energy is probably number 1 because that will boost the strength of his highest stat, which is attack. You can find one of those in Area 0, or you can get lucky and find one on a caught Paradox Pokemon. The other item to have on him would be a Shell Bell if you're facing a Pokemon that's weak to Electric, and you want to be able to heal from all that damage that you do. Next on our top 5 best Pokemon for raids list is none other than Azumarill. Now, Azumarill is an amazing Pokemon the way it is. It needs to know huge power, and it needs to know Belly Drum. You can get Belly Drum on him by getting a Mirror Herb and putting him in a picnic. Take away one of his moves. He can only have 3 move slots. Put him in a picnic with Hariyama that has Belly Drum. Walk around for a few minutes, and your Azumarill will have Belly Drum on him as well. Water Fairy is a very good typing, and it can counter a lot of different types of Pokemon. You have Dragon fighting with Fairy, Dark, you have lots with Water, Ground, Fire, etc. He can learn quite a few good moves. You definitely want Play Rough and Liquidation on him, along with Belly Drum, and then that 4th move you can change around. I use Rain Dance. Some people use Ice Punch and Superpower. I like to boost my Liquidation power with Rain Dance. And the most important item to have on him, number 1, is the Shell Bell, because it basically allows him to become a Drain Puncher when he does an attack. I've talked about the Shell Bell before, but it's very important on Azumarill. So here we're going to set up with Belly Drum again. And then we're going to use Liquidation. In this case, we have Max Attack. We use Liquidation. This is going to knock it out. And watch, with the Shell Bell, he's going to regain all of his health, just as if you were using Drain Punch with Ironhands. Now, you're going to want your Azumarill to have an adamant nature as well. You're probably going to want to max out his HP and attack, again, by EV training or using HP ups and proteins. I cheated and put a little speed on him for different uses as well. Next on our top 5 list is Surul Edge. In my opinion, Surul Edge is the best Fire-type Pokemon in the game to use in raids because of Swords Dance and Bitter Blade. With these Pokemon that I'm going over, you want them to be able to set up to boost their attack. So it can learn Swords Dance, and then Bitter Blade does 90 damage, but you recover half the health. It's probably the best move in the game. Then we have moves like Shadow Claw, which can be used against Ghost types and Psychic types. Mainly I use this against types that are weak to fire. And then Clear Smog is very important because it can reset the stats of the opposing Pokemon. You're going to want to have an adamant nature on Surul Edge as well, and honestly, for most raid Pokemon, they want you to max out HP and attack. I sneak some speed on it because I use it in some other instances as well, and the item is kind of interchangeable. I sneak a Shell Bell on it because even after Bitter Blade, Shell Bell allows you to recover more health, and if I'm using it against a Ghost or Psychic type Pokemon, Shadow Claw will regain health for me as well. Next on our list is the pseudo-legendary Garchomp. Now, the Dragon Ground type, honestly, the most important aspect of this is the Ground type. It's one of my favorite types, and it's the only type that can counter Electric and can counter a bunch of other types as well. I really don't use his Dragon tag because if I'm going against another Dragon, I'm using a Fairy type. The 2 most important moves for Garchomp are obviously Swords Dance and Earthquake. Now, if you're using this against a Dragon type, Dragon Claw or Outrage is another good option, and the 4th move can be interchangeable. It can learn Crunch if you're going against a Psychic or Ghost type, and some other coverage moves like that. The other great thing about Garchomp is the resistances that the dragon type gives him. He is not super affected by water or grass. Garchomp is also going to want to have an adamant nature on him. I have rough skin on him. I got that by using an ability patch since I have a bunch of them. That extra chip damage that it deals in raids is huge. And then the item, again, can be interchangeable. I, of course, use a Shell Bell because he recovers a lot of health when he does damage. And last but not least on our list is Slowbro. Now, do I think Slowbro is the 5th best Pokemon in the game to use in raids? I do not, but it's on here for a very specific reason. It is the unrivaled killer. It single-handedly solos the Greninja and Cinderace raids, and we'll have to see what other raids come out that it can potentially solo as well. It can also solo a lot of the 5-star raids, and it's very important that you have Nasty Plot, Iron Defense, and Stored Power on him. Stored Power does damage based upon how much your stats are boosted. You want to use Iron Defense 3 times, Nasty Plot 3 times, and then get off of Stored Power, and it's going to basically sweep the raid Pokemon. The 4th move can be interchangeable. If you're worried about taking damage, Slack Off is a great 4th move. Otherwise, you can use Psychic Terrain, which will boost the stored power even more. The ability for Slowbro is absolutely meaningless. You're going to want it to have a modest nature, and you're going to want to give all of the IVs to HP and special attack. No question. Don't even think about giving it to anything else. Max out HP and special attack. Now, the item for Slowbro is kind of interchangeable. This is not a Pokemon you're going to want to put a Shell Bell on because it's only going to be dealing damage like after 9 turns. Leftovers is clutch, is going to keep healing you over time, or you could put a Life Orb on him to have stored power do even extra damage. So there you have it, guys, the top 5 Pokemon in the game for raids. If you agree with me or disagree with me, please leave comments in the comment section below. Let me know if you would interchange a certain Pokemon here or there, and please don't forget to subscribe so you can see more content like this.